I don't know what your plans are for the July 4th weekend. I will still be here through July 4th, taking off actually on my birthday, the 5th, for the Atlantic City junket. And that's with a bunch of Altacockers. It's always kind of interesting to board that plane and realize that I'll be 71 that day, that I'm the youngest guy on the plane.
That's funny. I love that.
You talk about Con Air, man. That plane should just have a skull and crossbones on it. Never mind, some kind of symbol of what the airlines is all about. I mean, it's kind of like, there's a pretty good chance that somebody might check out on the flight.
Oh, Jesus.
With, the people that are going on it.
No.
We have a medical emergency. We're going to be landing in Tampa. Oh, okay, great. What is it? And then you look back in row 16. There's a guy having a seizure. Yeah. Yeah, you never know if that plane's going to take off on time because there's usually somebody that has to get off. At the last second, they start shaking, and we'll be slightly delayed here today as the paramedics have to board the plane. All right, clear the aisle. You get your charter flight.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Good to be back with you here on a Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubitz here on South Florida Live. And it's funny, that clip, because it really is an apt description of what goes on the charter flight with the Altacocker junket. They go to a couple of locations there. They divide them. Harris, Tropicana, Harris, Tropicana. Make sure you label your luggage because it's going to be delivered to your room. Really great, though. Unbelievable good time in Atlantic City. And it's a Sun Country charter that Caesars runs out of West Palm Beach, which is a great airport, by the way, because there's nobody there. It's fantastic. Nobody flies out of Palm Beach. If you ever notice, you're tracking prices. And, it is good to be with you guys because, wow, I mean, it's a double peel yourself off the mat Monday here after not doing this for a week or so. And I realized how much I enjoy not getting up in the morning. As much as I enjoy being with you guys, and I love it, I really do. Here I am. I turned 71, and I have no desire to turn back. I'm looking at people working into their 80s. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of that. Guys are cooking. They own restaurants. They're still doing it at 82. Was watching a fight the other night. I was actually thinking this trainer who was very, very prominent with Mexican fighters. He's trained a lot of the great Mexican champions, the Marquez brothers, Juan Manuel and Raul Marquez, and many, many others. A guy named Nacho Beristain, a famous fabled. He would be to the Mexican people what Angelo Dundee was to American people, or Lou Duva, or any of the very prominent trainers. Nacho Beristain, legendary trainer out of Mexico. And I'm watching fight the other night. I was actually just thinking the other day, is this guy Nacho Beristain? I don't remember ever reading about him checking out. And sure enough, he's still training at 82. He had a guy in a fight on Showtime in the main event who actually ended up winning, a guy named Ray Vargas, a very, very interesting fighter at 126 pounds. He's like 6 feet tall. Lately, that's a big trend. Real tall guys, skinny as a rail. How does guy weighs 126 at 6 feet tall? Can you imagine? And yet, has some punching power and some great boxing skills. But this guy's jumping in and out of the ring between every round. Now, it was a little difficult. I mean, he started to feel it after about round 6. You can see Beristain struggling. And that's not always easy because I've had many occasions, either during fight cards or after fights, jumping into the ring there to do a post-fight interview. Or a couple of times I actually was a ring announcer. But mostly... I was, responsible at different times for the post-fight interviews where you climb in there and you do the Jim Gray. Although, it's funny too, Lubie, because, and you can kind of give testimony to this or testament to this, that somebody puts something in your head, and even though you hate it, like you never want to say this if you're announcing yourself, you end up doing it, right? Yep. So my least favorite first question usually comes from Jim Gray after the fight, where he has no idea. I don't even know if he was watching a fight. I'm not sure what he was doing. And then, like, the dumbest question I think you could ever ask an athlete is, how would you grade your performance tonight? Right? Guy's got blood, piling up, under one eyeball. He won the fight. He's got scrapes and bruises everywhere. He's doubled over in pain from all the body shots he's taken. And Jim Gray goes, hey, how would you grade your performance tonight? Well, I'd give it a B. I mean, come on. You're talking to some guy from Tijuana through an
Exactly.
interpreter, and you're asking him how he's going to grade his performance tonight. I mean, who cares how he grades his performance tonight? He won, for God's sake. Come up with something else, Jim. And then you find yourself doing it, right? Because, you're there, and they go, okay, Defo, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, standard.
And out of nowhere, because it's in your head, no matter how much you despise it, you say, I tell you what, Lefty, how would you grade your performance tonight?
100%.
And then you want to kill yourself.
Damn it.
But sometimes, I mean, it can be tricky, climbing those little stairs up to the ring and then climbing through the ropes. And my one big fear was always, you don't want to pull a hamstring and or worse, catch your foot on the bottom rope as it comes up and then go down face first in the ring. And then all of a sudden, you're right there viral with that world's worst boxer video. Only it's you that looks like a fool in this case. Anyway, still going. This guy's still going at 82 years old. I was speculating that he probably had checked out, Lubie. Yeah, so, there's a lot of respect for that. But all that being said, when you board a plane full of out-the-conkers, first of all, Mustang hits right away because we had the over-under on wheelchair assistance at 10 and a hook. And the funny thing about it is everybody piles in so they can get on the plane first for some reason. I don't know. It's not going anywhere until everybody gets on. That's always a thing that boggles my mind about the guys that line up at the airport. Okay, and they're going to board by zones. Now, Southwest Airlines is total chaos. They don't have any assigned seats. So everybody pours. Have you flown Southwest recently? Jesse and Kelly DeForest, when we went to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, they flew Southwest, no assigned seats. Helter-skelter. It's like Charles Manson took over the airlines or something. Helter-skelter, my friends.
Exactly. What is that?
Imagine that. It's like musical chairs. All of a sudden, people are like diving for seats. As if you went to a concert and they just opened the gates or a ball. Imagine if you went to a ball game. And, it happens at Saratoga, I guess, which is opening up later on this week, Saratoga Race Course, where the people are piled up by the gate. And as soon as they open the gate, they all make a mad dash to try and claim one of the tables outside. I mean, people running. People have guys stashed in there. They pay people to wait online and claim a table for them. But this was very organized. Sun Country, which if you're flying Sun Country, wear a coat. Bring a coat.
Oh, it's freezing? That's funny.
Oh, my God. I have never been so cold on a flight. And I took a shot on the return flight. So I'm wearing my usual T-shirt and shorts. And this was after, nearly turning into a fish stick. I looked like DiCaprio in the last scenes of Titanic. With like frost on your lip. And I thought, wow, how can any plane be this cold? That must have been like a malfunction in the air conditioning system on that Sun Country flight going to Atlantic City. And sure enough, on the way back, even colder.
Oh, Jesus.
That was the only flaw, though. Everything else is just beautiful in this system because it's a charter flight. They hand you your tickets. You don't have any hassle. Doesn't matter about the luggage, which, by the way, that Spirit airline clerk who weighed that bag when we were going to New Orleans at 55 pounds. Come on, man. What are you talking about? This thing has never checked in at over 40 since. Same bag, same amount of stuff. Mustang had, wine bottles stuffed in there, so that added weight. How much could 2 wine bottles weigh? Like 5 pounds, maybe, tops?
Nothing.
I want my money back, Spirit. I want my money. You could go lose like 5,000, and it would still bug you the 50 that they robbed you for when you were checking your bag in at the airport.
That's so true.
But it was true. The median age of the people on the flight had to be, I don't know. We probably brought it down a little bit. Mustang, being much younger than I am, and she far and away was the youngest person on this plane.
They call you Sonny? Are you like young man?
No, it's weird. You don't even get a boarding pass. They check your pulse when you get on the plane, and if you have one, you're good to go.
It's a win.
Because nobody else would want to be on his plane except, the out-the-conkers that were getting a freebie in Atlantic City. But once there, it doesn't matter. And they take care of everything. It's fantastic. It really is. Take care of everything. Your room's already laid out there. Mustang, with her high-ranking status with her casino host, all of a sudden, I had one of the nicest rooms in a hotel I've ever had in my life for the days that we were there. Absolutely beautiful. Stunning, gorgeous views, panoramic view of all of the waterways. One window you're looking out at the ocean. One window you're looking out at this sort of kind of reserve I don't know. It looks like marshland to me, but it's like very, very nice. I mean, all the way around. Couldn't have been a better trip in that regard. And then on my birthday, I hit another one of those royal flushes on the video poker. Just
that
when
was
I was
live.
into the.
That was
What's
live
that?
'cause we were debating. I was like, that picture looks old. I know he keeps hitting royal flushes every
No,
time.
no, I wouldn't put up an old picture and say I won. What the hell would I do that
I
for?
don't
It's
know.
much easier to explain being a loser than it is a winner. Which I did have the Marlins when they lost 10-0 to the Mets that night. Took a shot with Castano. Come on, baby. Quit laying those meatballs in there. I may as well have been eating at Cafe Monterano, which was located upstairs in Harris. It was closed the night that we had the freebie at Gordon Ramsay Steak, which, wow. I mean, they had a steak the size of a city block. And, very, very nice, although there were some problems there. How about $24? We'll have to get into this with Mike Mayo in a lunchbox. $24 for a lobster bisque that contained not a shred of lobster, not one shred, right? Not even a picture of a lobster came with it. Nothing.
It's just broth.
Sherry and cream sauce or whatever that is that they put make lobster bisque out of. And they come, like sometimes you're in a fancy restaurant, like with the white tablecloth, and you, get cream with your coffee, and it comes in a little silver thing, like a tiny one, not like like a tea thing or anything like that, just a little tiny thing, and you pour it like this. That was it. They bring a bowl out, a giant bowl, but it's got like a hole cut in it, like one of those old catcher's mitts. I don't know if you remember catcher. I had a Chris Cannizzaro catcher's mitt many years ago when I wanted to be a catcher. I was a big Yogi Berra fan. I thought, wow, if I play hardball, which we didn't play in Brooklyn, but when I moved to Long Island, I decided I wanted to try my luck at catcher, which I wasn't a bad catcher. Had a good arm. I was able to throw guys out. But you know what? The beating that you take behind the plate isn't worth it. It just isn't. I'm sorry, Johnny Bench. It isn't worth it.
Between your knees and getting ran
Because
over.
you were going to take a beating even as a kid. When you're tough enough to take this kind of beating. But wow, I mean, foul tips and balls off your thumb and kneecap. The cup only provides a certain modicum of protection, my friends. Especially if it's too small. That's always a mistake. If you're going to wear a cup for protection in that area, make sure it fits. Because if that thing gets pinched in there, oh my God. Like unbelievable. I mean, just ringing death, the pain that brings about. And it's not even so much, it's the pain, but it's also just the shock of it, when it happens. It's like, oh, wow, what's that? Oh, it doesn't go away that fast? First time you get hit in the balls, I mean.
No, that's bad.
Did you ever try to catch, Lubie? How are you, by the way, Lubie? How was your week on the air? I
Very
understand.
busy.
Yeah?
Busy week, yeah.
What happened, man?
Doing this, that's always fun. And then would run home because we had some work done on our ceiling. And so that was fun. So Shirley couldn't work from home and someone needed to be there to let the people in and out. So that was good. Then doing Mayo's lunchbox from there because it had to happen every day. And then running around with that. And I'm still coaching these kids and we're 5-0 and that's taking time out that I don't really have at this point. So it was a lot of fun. So I'm glad you're back. I'm really happy to have you back. I'll tell you that.
I'm back and I'm dedicated, Lubie, and I understand. I did a lot of thinking about this whole thing, and it is going to work. I can assure you, it is going to work. We're going to.
People are finding us and they're loving us. I'm getting really good responses. Shirley's like, "Wow, you guys are doing well." I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to have Defo here." So.
Yeah. No, and it is fun. I keep thinking, I mean, obviously hitting 71, 72. Was 72 retirement age or 65 retirement age? What was considered retirement age? Back in the day, I think people thought about retiring at 72.
Late 60s.
60s?
Late 60s, early 70s.
I mean, it would be nice to have checked out, stopped doing stuff in your 30s, at least when it came to, having the need to work, which I think I'm going to take that need to my grave. Hopefully that won't be coming later other than sooner. But anyway, marvelous time. Had a great time. That was a lot. I wouldn't send out a phony picture of something that I won. What would be the point of that?
I thought it was real. I was just funny. I was like, it's always a royal flush. Like every time he's hitting, it's like.
Well, that would be the only reason to take a picture of a result on a video poker machine because it's the ultimate hand. Nice. That was dealt to me too, which was weird. And it was coming at a point where I was starting to think this is a drag because, I had my initial day's bankroll, but you don't want to run out of that on the first day and have to go right back to the ATM machine. And then it's a slow grind. And it's just a losing proposition because you're sending good money after bad. A friend of mine told me that a long time ago. Why send good money after bad?
Yep.
Of course, he was investing in a business that my friend and I were running at the time, and we had asked him for more money. He said, I'd love to give it to you, but why send good money after bad? Nothing's happening with your show. It's never going to get off the ground. Turned out to be a masterpiece that would have been the forerunner for HBO Real Sports.
Exactly.
My buddy Mike and I nearly copped like a $1.2 million deal for 13 episodes of this thing.
Of course.
And I've told the story many times on the way back where we're staying with Ira the Met fan, who was prominent in my betting equations while I was betting baseball in Atlantic City. And are crazy for the Mets and the Yankees up there. And the Yankees naturally are, just running away and hiding. Although a brutal loss for the Yankees last night. They're up 6-2. Did you see this, Lubie? They're on Sunday Night Baseball. Well, what is this Sunday Night Baseball crew comprised of, by the way? Is it Carl Ravitch and Eduardo Perez? Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Who else is on that thing?
I don't know. They got rid of Mendoza already? How long was Mendoza?
No, Mendoza's been gone. Yeah, Mendoza's been gone, but she is, held in high regard, obviously, for her analysis in the studio, which is fine with me. I don't have any problem with the person. Seems like a delightful young lady, Jessica Mendoza, and obviously accomplished in the baseball world. But wow, was she annoying as an announcer? I was wishing for her to come back with her stats and her breakdowns and all of this stuff because I tuned in a game last night and. Look, I played a lot of baseball. I did. I was on the Syracuse baseball team while they had a program. Of course, that only lasted 2 years of my tenure there, and then they abandoned the program because they looked at the threat they had on the roster. No, they had some good players there, man. One guy that was on the team was a longtime major leaguer. I keep mentioning him here and there, a guy named Mike Barlow. If you look up his record, and he was the first guy I ever faced when I got in an inter-squad game as a freshman. Mike Barlow, who was a sidearmer, and brought it up to the plate. This was at a time when 90 plus was sort of unusual, right? Not everybody, no one touched 100 back in those days, except maybe Nolan Ryan. But here was Mike Barlow, and he threw the thing up there in college at about 95 miles an hour. They didn't really go with jugs guns and those kind of measurements back then, which was a much better era of baseball. I believe this. But as much experience as I have in a game of baseball or had at the time, the four-seamer versus the two-seamer, is that really worth like 2 hours of conversation? And when did we start defining that? I mean, when did they break it down in that fashion? I mean, most kids, you grab the ball for the first time, you throw it. Okay, that works. Are you sitting there and somebody would say, all right, the way, especially on a breaking ball, it might make more of a difference to me. But the four-seam fastball versus the two-seam fastball. Can you tell me the difference, Lubie?
No. I didn't know.
Talking about spin rotation and this and that. I mean, just grab the thing and fucking throw it.
Yeah, I didn't know. You just taught me something. Like, what's
that was the whole conversation for like the first inning of this. You got the Red Sox and the Yankees at Fenway, for God's sake,
on a Sunday,
and you got three guys going, well, you know what, he had the two-seamer and then he started throwing the four-seamer and we didn't know if he could throw the four-seamer, so he went back to the two-seamer. It's like just sew up your lips at that point. I mean, if you want to be a seamstress, who needs these debates? And these statistical breakdowns of launch angle and all that. Well, what is going on, Lubie? Do we need that? Do I need to know that Giancarlo Stanton's home run had a 16-degree launch angle, which was only eclipsed by his 15-degree launch angle on an opposite field home run? No wonder people are just turning away from these games. It's insane, right?
They're trying to.
Yeah, Red Sox rallied from the grave last night. They were down 6-2. They were getting hammered. Starter was giving up 2-run home runs like he was handing out bar mitzvah invitations. And the Red Sox rallied LeMahieu, who's usually a pretty steady professional ball player, drops not one but two pop-ups in the same inning.
No, geez.
It wasn't like it was straight-up pop-ups. I mean, he was going out to the outfield, but he called off the outfielders on both occasions, maybe or maybe not rightfully so. And you're asking yourself, when did this turn into like a Little League game? He dropped them both. And it opened up the floodgates for the Boston Red Sox. They came back in the ball game. They won it in a runaway last night, 11-6. So crazy. I mean, how can you just spend 9 innings talking about the advantages of throwing a 2 or a 4-seam fastball? And if anybody really knows the difference please, type it in on the chat line here. And tell me what the hell differentiates the two. I mean, what does one break a different way or something? I
I
would imagine that
presume.
would be the only reason. Are we talking about wiffle ball here, where you put the holes on one side, and whichever side you put the holes on, it's going to break the other way? I had a wicked screwball in wiffle ball, right? Talk about turning that thing over. That was fantastic. Right over the top, like Bob Gibson. Screwball, whoosh, come inside and hit the guy right in the face. And atrocious umpiring last night. I don't know. Did you watch any of this ball game by any chance, Libby? It doesn't sound like it, right?
Not at all. Not at all.
I know. Are they definitively going to robotic umpires in the future? Because it probably would be better. It really would.
Like it. Yeah, it feels like it.
Because wow, I mean, whoever was behind home plate last night, I mean, I'm not sure that Whitey Bulger didn't have, if he was still alive, or some influence on this guy. Because he was very favorable to the Red Sox hitters in this game. Did Boone? He might have eventually gotten thrown out because there was an at bat by Giancarlo Stanton, who had hit like a home run in his first at bat. He hits a laser shot that somehow was right at the shortstop, made a good play on it, and then gets a base hit his next at bat. So the guy's on fire. Comes up in a situation when the game was still in the balance, and it takes like 3 pitches in a row that were all off the plate. And they're all 3 called strikes.
Oh, really?
From a 2-0 count, yeah.
Oh,
3 pitches in a row, not even near the plate. I mean, you couldn't have found a plate with a search warrant.
Oh.
And all 3 were called strikes on the guy. And he finally, I mean, he almost bit his bat in half. He was ready to just like... I don't know if that would have worked if you were calling these strikes on Nick Kyrgios. Let's put it that way.
Punch in the face.
Anyway, baseball heading for the All-Star break. A lot of talk about the home run derby, who's in, who's out. It seems like all of the guys that you would want to see are out.
Yeah.
Is that true, Lubie? Out?
I have no idea.
I mean, don't they need to change the format if nobody wants to be in it? Wouldn't you rather see, some kind of different structure to this thing than having a guy come back and have to take another 70 swings after he's already swung the bat like 200 times? I mean, it's enough to wear anybody out, no?
Yep.
Why would you want to be in that and risk the fact that you might compromise the rest of your season, especially with the races the way they are? Now, there's no race in the American League East right now. The races for second place and wild cards. National League East getting very interesting. And I believe this now, Lubie, about the Miami Marlins, that they are afflicted with the myth of the Sisyphus when it comes to 500. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, they got
the myth of the Sisyphus.
Around. Yep.
Every time they get near it, they get pushed back. Every time they get near. Now, they win yesterday. They won the ball game behind Sandy Alcantara, who's right now the leader for the Cy Young Award in the National League.
You got to start.
Get that guy, what is his name? Gosselin with the Dodgers. He's like 10-0 and has a 1.62 earned run average. He'd been around for a while, this kid. But Alcantara, clearly, in most people's mind, anybody that analyzes baseball right now is the Cy Young Award winner in the National League. Unless DeGrom comes back in the second half and pitches like 3 games, in which case they'll award it to him.
Exactly, automatically.
Hey, vey. The only people that care are the people that are betting on this shit, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Which they're betting on everything in Atlantic City, by the way. Yeah, this was great, Lubie. You talk about degeneracy because, you're feeling about yourself. I got out on my birthday there, and that was enough capital to finance my entire trip gambling-wise.
Nice.
I ended up coming home up a couple of $100, but
nice.
I had kind of pissed away a little bit of what I was ahead there on my birthday. The next day wasn't so favorable. The last day we broke about even. So, it was a few $100 ahead for the trip, which you have to consider that an enormous victory. Yeah. Anything, inside of a few $100, either way, I mean, is a victory. But, wow, I mean, if you can come out on top, and that's about, I would say, well, New Orleans wasn't too favorable to me, but I don't consider that a casino trip so much. That's more of a city visit. Yeah.
It's not supposed to be.
Well, you're going to be in a casino because we're copping free rooms there, which would have gone for about $250 a night, which I don't mind at all. But, I mean, a very favorable result in that regard. But I'm in a place, I'm celebrating now. I just hit this thing, and it was too early. We weren't going to dinner yet. So I go into this place. Now, wasn't there one of these down on South Beach, McCormick and Schmick's?
I think so.
I always think it's McCormick and Schmick's. Is there still one in Miami? We'll have to ask Mayo about that.
I've definitely seen
McCormick and Schmick's.
100%.
Good restaurant. I mean, I guess they have a few of them around the country. I'm not sure how many of McCormick and Schmick's there are, but I mean, I would recommend it. A little pricey on certain things, unless they had a very favorable happy hour, which I happened to walk into.
Nice.
And I'm sitting down, and I see these guys with charts, and it was like on a pad, though, like the way they had like a zillion notes scribbled. And they're studying charts, and they're talking back and forth about what about this, what about that, what about this. Put the 200 there, put the 300 there. And I'm thinking, wow, these guys have some kind of system. They must be betting baseball. And I was about to make my baseball parlay, which I had asked Mr. Met, Ira Dornstein. I said, give me 3 teams, and I'll bet them for us tonight. So this was, I guess you could look it up. On the 5th of July, he gives me the Yankees against Pittsburgh, which is a joke to use in a parlay because the Yankees are like, minus 350 in the game. So you're not going to make any money parlaying the Yankees there. Why even take a chance that they lose? He gave me the Mets, and he gave me the Phillies. All right. All 3 teams lost. Yankees lose to Pittsburgh. The Mets got swamped that night, and the Phillies were losers.
Oh, no.
So I'm thinking, as I'm listening to these guys, maybe they have some insight into this stuff, right? Why just take a blind stab? I don't know. What would you base your opinion on anymore, except, starting pitchers? Can you really go by that?
Yes.
Because if you're getting one of the really solid starters like an Alcantara, you're giving up odds even if you're betting the Marlins against the Yankees, maybe. Maybe not the Yankees, but against most teams in the National League, you're laying a price at that point. So anyway, I'm listening to this, and I'm sort of fascinated by the conversation. And so I asked the guy, I said, well, what are you guys doing? Are you betting baseball? And the guy looks at me and says, no, NBA Summer League.
Oh, shut up. Are you kidding me?
NBA Summer League. I mean, from an analytical standpoint, how can you analyze this?
You analyze that.
The Heat lose by 50 one night, and they win by 20 the next night.
Yeah.
I mean, the swings are insane.
Oh,
maybe you do it by like every other game. You're going to go against the team, that just got pummeled. Or with the team that just got pummeled in the previous ball game. Is that the way? How could you possibly, honestly, Lubie, how could you bet NBA Summer League basketball?
The professor and I were talking about it, just watching it the other day. Like, even I'm barely watching it. Like, who's watching enough to bet on it? Oh, my God.
Not only bet on it, but bet on it from a deeply analytical and sabermetric standpoint. With their own personalized observations and notes.
Oh, my God.
Spoelstra doesn't know as much about the NBA Summer League as these 2 cats from New Jersey did. Real New Jersey guys, too. Very loud. I mean, I should have picked up. I never could have imagined that that's what they were talking about, though, Lubie. I mean, in a million years, I didn't even know they offered NBA Summer League for wagering. Did you?
No, I know there were lines. I didn't know there were lines on it. Why would you?
What kind of lines did he put up on this? I mean, a lot of the games are blowouts. Most of them are,
Yes.
it seems like to me.
Yes, every game. Yep.
And you don't know who's playing, and you don't know if the guy's playing more than a couple of minutes. Interesting, by the way, I was reading a little Mushnick yesterday, and he was talking about this Zion Williamson contract. Imagine this. The guy has played like a handful of games in 3 seasons. And, while of course he did look very promising during the time that he was out there, which was very limited time, in his second year. He was out his entire first year, Williamson, was he not? Entire first year with a torn meniscus.
Yep.
And then he played, partially in the second season that he was on the Pelicans and looked good. I mean, did he look like he was going to be a monster? I don't know. But looked good. Yeah, no question. Then he went to the Buster Douglas School of Training and decided he was going to put on 300 pounds. Broke his foot and was out for the season.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So part of one season, and he goes from making $10 million a year to the extended rookie max contract of like $400 million for 3 seasons. I mean, how could you do that? I mean, what is going on in the world of sport? Would you not have to at least prove yourself over some sustained period of time to qualify for that ridiculous amount of money? And that's why we're paying, what, $20 for a hot dog and a couple of $100 for a beer? I mean, tickets for the Pelican games, are like some ridiculous number. And they have to be to pay these cats. I guess they have to pay up to the salary cap, but is there any cap? Is that how they dodge the salary cap with these extended? If you have an early bird rule, the only place they should have an early bird rule is at like Tropical Acres.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you here for the bird? That would be my thing. I mean, you would have a wise guy. What are you here for the bird? Yeah, you got 5 minutes. Sit down. But it is true. I mean, how can you justify that? Honestly, it's who was it? Lillard just got like 60
Yeah,
million
he
a
got
year.
60 a year. He got 60
60 million a year
yeah,
to play
yeah.
basketball.
And they're not going to win. He got 60 million a year for them to be like the 7th seed. I mean, the
To
West. They're
stay
not
in
gonna,
Portland. Wow. I mean, a good player. I mean, deserving
he's
of
great.
whatever's out there is the going rate. But wow.
Yeah, but they're not going to
Zion
win.
Williamson, though, did nothing to justify
No.
this amount of money. Zero.
He got
He
drafted.
was a one and done at Duke, where he was very good, obviously, and he showed promise. But who knows? I mean, do you really know that this guy's going to be a long-term superstar in the NBA,
The
or is he
opposite.
going to have a career that is no better than Benoit Benjamin? I don't know. Right?
No, he doesn't play. When he plays great, but he doesn't play. And he hasn't done anything to lose the weight. Like, he hasn't done anything to make you
He's Chris
encouraged.
Washburn with some talent.
Yes, that's what it feels like. He feels like
Yeah.
he's some guy that was like, wow, look at him. And then he never does anything. Like, if you can't stay on the court, then it doesn't matter how cool your dunks are in practice.
All right, should you check yourself into some kind of a mental clinic if you're betting NBA Summer League?
Yes.
This coming
Andy-
from a stone degenerate who would bet on anything.
Andy's like, I don't know. I can't really say I'm laying one in a hook for Lubie's 8-year-olds.
Hey.
So you're talking to the wrong people here.
That kind of stunned me a little bit, though, when I found out that their
that's crazy.
conversation and all of their analysis and the talking back and forth was all about NBA Summer League. Because I don't know that I've spent 2 seconds talking about NBA Summer League in my lifetime.
Nope.
I tune in. I don't even know who are these guys.
The Jovic guys.
They have their names taped on their back.
Yes, they do. It really is.
I remember when I showed up at the Q's there for my first day of practice for this baseball team. My name was in adhesive tape, and everybody else's that was like kind of screwed in. It really was.
That's great.
It was written on adhesive tape and spelled wrong.
The florist. I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna go well.
Well, I mean, obviously they didn't think much of me going into that freshman year. And for good reason, because I discovered, that smoking marijuana in the daytime was a good thing if you didn't have a whole lot of responsibility. They were lucky that I showed up for games. No, I enjoyed it, man. I love getting out there. I love playing ball anytime. So, practice was fine with me. I wasn't going to pull, an Iverson on that. All right. Many other things. Now, Wimbledon, I watched the men's final yesterday with great interest. And there's always this debate. Is Nick Kyrgios good or bad for tennis? Good or bad for tennis?
You do it yesterday too? Was he an asshole? I didn't hear anything about him being a jerk off.
Oh, Kyrgios, he was a wild man yesterday, but not quite to the extent that he was during his match with Stefano Tsitsipas, which was a great match, by the way. I mean, it was just high-level tennis. That was probably the most electrifying match of the tournament.
Is that the quarters? That was the quarters, right? Because
yeah, it was the quarterfinals. No, it was even earlier. It was like the third round.
Really?
Yeah, and then Kyrgios had a couple of what seemed like kind of softer opponents, and he was supposed to play Nadal. Nadal had to pull out. Dynamic win once again. Nadal, you talk about going out on your shield, man. Nadal toughs it out with an abdominal muscle tear. Serve went down from like 120 to like 86 miles an hour. All of a sudden, he was like Tommy John out there after his comeback from the surgery. And he grinds it out against a guy who's having a real good season, an American who would probably be the top American right now, Taylor Fritz. I believe by ranking alone, he's far and away the top American player. And he's won a couple of tournaments this year. He beat Nadal at Indian Wells, but in that final, when Taylor Fritz won against Nadal, Nadal had broken ribs and still took him 5 sets. Nadal, I mean, is one of the toughest competitors outside of, you would have to say that if you were going to take the most mentally tough athletes of all time, and this is odd because this guy was perceived to be some kind of a flake when he first came on the scene, much like Andre Agassi. Was maybe one of the mentally toughest guys later in his career after being, like a sort of a playboy goofball.
Yep.
Early on, one of those guys that you thought, wow, what a waste of talent, man, that this guy doesn't win enough. And, they ended up having all kinds of odd travails with drugs and different things. He bottomed out and, beautifully came back and was one of the toughest outs that you would ever find, right? Even when he wasn't on his best stuff, which is the measure, I think, of greatness in that sport
Yeah,
to a
yeah.
large extent. If you're not on your best stuff and you still find a way to win,
Yep.
and who does that better at this stage and maybe over the last several years than Novak Djokovic?
Oh,
Down
God.
2-0 to that guy, Yannick Sinner, who somehow is Italian. Go figure that one. I didn't see anybody named Yannick,
That's
working
not
in any of the
that's Italian,
establishments that I frequented in Italy. Did you?
that's French.
When you
Isn't
were
that
over there? Yeah. Yannick Sinner, a
Yanni, you know what
pale-skinned
French, right?
white guy, string bean of a tennis player who's very good. I mean, this was an up-and-coming guy. And Sinner has Djokovic by the jugular. I think that was on the 5th of July. That was on last Tuesday's matchups at Wimbledon. And he's got him 2-0. And, you just can't ever count out the Joker, right? Comes back and wins it in 5, stays alive in the tournament, goes on to make the final with relative ease, and faces Kyrgios, who's playing great tennis. The guy was playing lights-out tennis. But what a nutbag, huh? Is he not Kyrie Irving with a tennis racket
Oh,
in his
yes.
hands?
Yes.
Just from another planet, although Kyrie is not evil-spirited.
No,
And when he's on the court, I mean, you talk about a self-destruct. This is no place to have your own personal meltdowns against Djokovic, who throughout this, did you watch any of the final there yesterday?
No.
I mean, the Joker is just, he can be emotional, but he was the epitome of cool the entire time. He just let Kyrgios screw
Yeah,
himself
exactly.
right out of the match. Yeah.
Well, that's what you do. He's like,
Now, he's probably a better player anyway. I mean, he's probably a better player. Although Kyrgios is very athletic, but Kyrgios can't resist doing some of this funky stuff, the underhand serve, which that's kind of a disgrace, Lubie. When he throws one of those underhand serves in there, guys standing back pinned to the wall. Now I understand you're entitled to do whatever you want, but you talking about the unwritten rules of sports? Are you not somewhat obligated to at least throw a reasonable serve in there? No. I mean, Michael Chang did it famously. What was that in the final against Ivan Lendl at the French Open when he threw in an underhand serve? The guy was cramping badly at the time. He had every reason to try and use any tactic possible because it looked like he was going to have to quit at any moment. That was a classic tennis match where Michael Chang won, I guess, his only Grand Slam event as a young guy. And you thought, this guy's going to be ticketed for tennis fame and history for a long period of time. It didn't really work out that way. Kyrgios, though, he's shown flashes of brilliance many, many times. And at 27 would be hardly finished considering that Djokovic is what, like 36, 37 years old now? Novak Djokovic? And Nadal's, up there in his upper 30s. Federer is 40, but he appears to be done. But I mean, these older guys, Andy Murray is still winning matches, even though he's had like 2 hips replaced and, is in his late 30s or mid to late 30s.
It's 35 and Nadal, I think, is 36.
Yeah, and then still playing.
It's 35.
Okay. Still playing at a very high level. I mean, Djokovic looks like, he's going to be tough to beat for a long, long time. Now, some people would say the tournament was compromised a little bit. Medvedev is actually, 1 or 2 in the world, and he was not allowed to play there because being a Russian descent and a Russian national, he was banned from Wimbledon. They didn't want any Russians playing in the tournament. Russians and Belarus. I don't know, that would have overwhelmingly affected the dynamic. There's another guy, Rublev, who's a real good player, and he was not in the tournament either. And, he was capable of causing some trouble. I don't know that he was going to win the thing. And on the women's side, obviously, It's kind of like, what is it? The Koreans dominate the women's golf tour. A zillion Russian players. So, including Sabalenka, who I thought was going to be the next Serena Williams. Arina Sabalenka. But she can't seem to get it together. She chokes in big matches for some reason and has a lot of trouble double faulting. Anyway, the final was good. I mean, it was very compelling. Kyrgios wins the first set. And then, he's flipping out the entire time. Who is he talking to? Himself?
I was going to say, doesn't he talk to himself? Isn't that his
thing?
He
doesn't have a coach. Yeah, he doesn't have a coach.
At all? He has no coach?
All the people in his box are I don't know. I mean, I don't even know where they came from. He just gave out a bunch of tickets outside. Then, of course, he has the hot girlfriend. Now, during the course of the tournament, he spit at a fan, got fined for that. He got fined for an overwhelming use of obscenities. Even the line judges and the ball boys were coming over to the chair umpire and going, "Hey, can you shut this guy up? Huh? How about a code violation? Something." Every other word out of his mouth can't be "fuck you." And you want to like this guy. That's the funny thing. Some people say that, and it's really good for tennis that they have one, outrageous asshole playing the game. Guy that can't control himself. I don't know. Yeah, what do you think, Lubie? It calls a lot of attention to it. It certainly is exciting to watch the guy play. When he's on his game, especially, which grass, he's a dominant, a player on the grass. He's been having a great season. I didn't know that he was going to beat the Joker because Joker's so tough. But against the most mentally tough athlete, maybe among the most mentally tough of all time, and Novak Djokovic.
Oh yeah.
Who went from kind of a flake to like just a pillar of mental strength. I mean, he is never to be counted out. The slightest opening, as Andy Beyer would say, if there's even the slightest chink in your emotional armor, gambling is not for you.
Nope.
And you leave the slightest, not even a splinter of daylight for these guys, and they're able to take advantage of it. That's mental toughness. And, Kyrgios is sitting there just berating himself and whoever he's talking to in the crowd, going crazy over virtually everything. Every exchange he's in, like some brutal exchange with the chair umpire, every change of sides. And I think he talked himself out of the match. I really do. He was right there. And, he got cute a couple of times. What's our motto, Lubie?
Don't
get cute. Don't get cute.
Play.
When you think you have it going on, just go ahead and finish your business, right?
Yep.
It's okay to pour it on there, Jerry Faustbreath. It really is, because don't get cute. You don't have to insult anybody, but at the same time, you're up 40-11 a game. It's not the time to go between your legs just because you're putting on a show for the crowd, which is nice and it makes it entertaining, but it also leads to losing because next shot comes up, you goof one up, then all of a sudden you whack one out of bounds, 40-40, and Djokovic goes on and wins that game. And that was a turning point in the set. And the match, for that matter, is he went on to win it in a 4-set tiebreaker. But that's 21 for Djokovic, and now one behind Nadal. I don't know that he'll be able to play in the U.S. Open, as that's still up in the air. It seems like the answer is negative on that because of the COVID vaccine situation. And New York now having another outbreak. When is this thing going to go away? It's like the blob, for God's sake.
moved on from this one. It is what it is. I mean, if you get it, you'll be out for a week and then you'll be fine. I don't know. I've stopped worrying that fucking thing.
At least they're not putting people immediately in body bags the minute they contract this disease, which, it was ugly, right? 1 million people checked out. Lubie, I don't know. If you don't believe that stat, what? So cut it in half?
No, it's more than that. There's a lot of people died. I mean, it was sad.
Most of the Trumpsters don't want to accept it. They don't want to believe anybody died.
No, that's
Nothing happened. Nothing.
Yeah.
It should be interesting when that Steve Bannon cat gets in front of the January 6th committee and starts talking. Well, what do you think he's going to have to say? Do you think the oath would matter that much to Steve Bannon? Or is he just ready to throw in the towel because he doesn't want to go to jail and his boy Trump is out? Not sure. Interesting situation there. I mean, almost as interesting as these payoffs that Vince McMahon. How many children does Vince McMahon have? We don't know, right? He's like Elon Musk. He paid off like $12 million for silence, the silence of women who he was having sex with inside the WWE organization, right?
For no reason.
Sending pictures. It was pretty strange stuff there. Is that steroids or just fame and fortune? So you feel like you have a sense of entitlement. You can do whatever the hell that you want to do.
Probably both.
Anyway, does Kyrgios make for good tennis? The one thing, when a guy's just kind of evil, and says things that they're so disparaging that you really, you just don't have any respect for it after a while. Where and Kyrgios has that famous incident. Well, I don't know how famous it is because I'm thinking, wait, maybe nobody knows what you're talking about, DeForest. But it's well documented that at one time he gets, I guess, I don't know if he got defaulted from the match or what kind of violation he was given or slapped with at the time. But he's playing Stan Wawrinka, who was like the second guy there behind Federer, and a very good player. He won a couple of slams. Very, very good. One of the sweetest backhands you'll ever see in the history of the game. One-handed backhand, Stan Wawrinka. He's had injuries the last few years. He's mounted some sort of a comeback, and very much respected around the tennis world. Stan Wawrinka. Anyway, he's playing Wawrinka, and they're both at the height of their game. And he says to Wawrinka during one of the changeovers, he says, he's fighting with him the whole time, and then he finally says, and besides that, I slept with your girlfriend last night. And then I think he made some other disparaging comment about Wawrinka's sexual prowess. I'm not sure what they did to him for that one. I don't even know if they might have fined him a few $1,000s. But is that good for the game? But how do you do that, right? I mean, Lubie, I don't care how much you could be Antonio Margarito trash talking, Manny Pacquiao while you're getting your face beat in. But I mean, is that necessary to go there in a tennis match? Somebody, you're playing tennis with a friend of yours. You're up 5-3 in the first set, or 5-4 in the first set. You go for the changeover. You're going to be serving for the set, and the guy says to you, "You know what, Lubie? I slept with Shirley last night," and she says, "You aren't that great."
Good for you.
Do you hit the guy with a racket? I don't know. What do you do with that one? Are you entitled to retaliate for a comment like that? Or do you just shrug it off and go,
I'd laugh. Yeah. I think I've never understood trash talk because, first of all, if you're focused on the game, it doesn't matter what they're saying. One. Two, if you're focused on the game, why are you worrying about bothering? Like the guys that were great agitators, and look, Rodman did it. It worked against Zoe. It worked against Carmone. But I thought that was lame. To me, focus on the game. Play the game. You want to go, I got you. But like to call out their mom or like I don't know if you've seen Hustle yet, but like Anthony Edwards supposedly is very much like this, but the whole time he's calling out the kid and he's trying to find ways to break him. And it's like, dude, if you're so good, I've never gotten that. Like, if you're so good, you shouldn't have to worry about the opponent. Like, that's what I tell my kids. Like, the other teams have gotten really frustrated because we just kicked their ass. So they've gotten really violent. And the refs aren't calling the fouls. And the parents are freaking out. And my job is to be like, look, you understand they're going to get you for the retaliation, not them for the foul. Don't worry about them. Don't let them get in your head. Just play your game. And I get it. They're 8, so it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
When you're grown ass adults, to me, who gives a shit? Especially if you know Kyrgios' thing. Like, that's his thing. Like, that's his thing. So, like,
well, you would want him to go there. Actually, I think that's what Djokovic did. Djokovic is usually pretty volatile himself. I mean, he's not doing things that are in sort of a disgraceful fashion like Kyrgios is, carrying on like a madman. But you can see him. I mean, he often lets go, with his emotions during the course of a match, and you're saying, "Wow, how could anything mean that much to anybody to let out that kind of a primal scream because you just scored on a drop shot?" Right? I mean, it's crazy, but you look at this and you realize how intense the competition is, and then how competitive these guys are. They have to be able to play at the very highest levels. But Djokovic, I think he kind of was like smugly laughing, as he's watching this guy just break himself down.
Yep,
and that's not a good guy to do it against. On the women's side, new slam winner Rybakina, who hails from Kazakhstan. Many people were making an issue out of the fact that she actually is Russian and somehow was in the tournament. I guess she went to Kazakhstan. The story was, is that how you say it? You don't say Kazakhstan. It's something else. Kazakhstan or something like that.
Is the one with the Z or with the J? There's I know there's Kazakhstan.
I mean, it's one of them countries, yeah. Anyway, she got money from their tennis federation to go over there, and so she took up a citizenship there and was able to qualify for Wimbledon. Tall drink of water, played a great game. Ons Jabeur was a real nice story. This young lady, Maria, is it Tatiana Maria? She actually lives here in South Florida, either Palm Beach, Jupiter, somewhere in that area. Is Jupiter still considered South Florida, or is that like above the Mendoza line for civilian life?
It's like Southern Florida. Yeah, you can get there in an hour. I call it South Florida.
Anyway, she's sort of got local ties, and she was brilliant to get to the final there because she got a mixed bag of a game there, very much Lubie-esque with a lot of Vegomatic type of stuff, slice and dice and pushing, but can hit the ball with some power. And she also is like the mother of two. So she's come back, and that was a great achievement for her. And she gets into the final there, but she gets in against Ons Jabeur, and Jabeur, I guess, beat her there. And this Rybakina, who beat Simona Halep, ends up winning the championship. And then there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, that's also tainted," because obviously the Russian women, I think, would have been more influential in those brackets than the men would have been if you're counting like Medvedev and Rublev, who are the two top Russian players. But kind of weird, all right? I mean, should the athlete be banned because they're from a country that is committing atrocities right now, even though, I mean, it's not like they ordered these strikes on the Ukraine. Well, what do you think, Libby?
Yeah, I'm not blaming her that she's Russian. Like, what is so she's not allowed to play because Russia sucks? Like,
well, and they banned all the Russian players. Yeah, I mean, this Rybakina got in on kind of a
technicality.
Yeah, an asterisk move where she took up citizenship in another country because their tennis federation gave her a bunch of cash, but she was, brought up as a Russian tennis player until she was like 18. She's like 21 years old now. But good stuff all the way around. That was a great tournament. One last thing before we tell you about Hialeah Park, too. What about this whole Brittany Griner story? What do you make of that?
Crazy. Yeah, the whole thing's nuts. Like the fact that she's still there. Like Ken, you missed it. It was good. Ken's Big Board Top 5 Friday was athletes because they want to trade her for like war criminals.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's not happening. This guy was like the biggest arms dealer in the world for years.
Yeah.
And that's what they want to trade him for. It's like,
He made Adnan Khashoggi look like a lightweight, like he was selling pea shooters in third grade.
We want Griner, but that's not happening. So Ken's Big Board Top 5 was 5 athletes we'd rather give you and get Griner. And he had like he had Lochte and he had like all these people that are scumbags that you never want here. It was great.
That's classic.
Yeah, it was classic.
Yeah, we'll send you these guys.
Yeah, here, just take them for Griner. We're not giving you this guy. You can have Lochte.
All right, Hialeah Park. What a beautiful place, man. I tell you what. Oh, this is great. Toga. I'm going to say the Saratoga open up on Friday, Lubie. What do you think on that? Friday?
I know sometimes it's this week or something because Mayo was talking about how he usually would get up there and he doesn't know if he can, but he'd love to.
Oh, he can do it now because he hit something last night. He bet $3 to hit for like $8.29 on a race at Belmont.
Good for him.
Pretty nice move. Yeah. No, that's a good move. $8.29. I mean, how he threw this pig in that paid $32 to show was pretty incredible because it wasn't like he hit the all button, Mayo. I mean, you know what? He must have some smarts, this kid, when it comes to handicapping, no?
Yep. Mayo. No, he gets it.
He's very methodical. So, I could see where that would work as opposed to just careless, curious style with which I approach betting horse racing, and that's screen to screen. Doesn't matter if you buy a racing form, but you don't even look at it. You just who's a favorite? Okay, I'll back William with 5 horses. You'd think I'd change systems after a while. If you're a losing gambler lifetime, shouldn't you look at the possibility of changing your approach?
Yes.
We should get into that on a Degenerate Friday here. And maybe get a bunch of people that, would come up with, maybe Mark Lawrence will give a guest appearance here. I know he's sort of out of his season here, but that's coming back, right? He'll be on preseason football.
Yeah, we'll get him on when we get to August. August is when preseason starts. So
how many preseason games are there now? 3? 3 exhibitions?
I think didn't they cut them down? I thought they cut them down.
They cut it to 2 or 3? It was 4. I know it was, what was it, like 3 last year?
3, then 3, yeah. I think they cut it down to 3.
3? All right, we'll have to ask Brett Tester there. Fact we should know, right?
He would know.
I don't even feel guilty not knowing that because it's been debated for so long. On the Griner thing, though, there are people now saying, and I don't know. I mean, my sympathies, obviously, this is a bonehead move that could lead to like 10 years in a Russian prison colony, please. Okay, what did she have? I mean, she had a little hashish oil, for some vapor thing. And it was not enough for the Russians to possibly believe that it was going to be a negative influence on the entire country. All right? I mean, if they could let one person get away with it, does that mean that, they shouldn't stop anybody else? It's very debatable here. At an airport, though, you don't want to get into a jackpot.
Oh, no.
Is that not a truism? You don't want to have any problems at the airport.
No.
You don't want to accidentally, if you're in the NFL, leave a gun in your bag.
No.
You don't want to do any clown type of stuff, right?
Not there.
You don't want to wrap a bunch of drugs in silver foil and leave them in your carry-on if you're playing in the NBA.
No.
Nothing. So, I mean, how obviously this is an act of immense stupidity on her part. Yes. You can't look at it any other way. You're going to Moscow, for God's sake, through the Moscow airport. And why would you have any drugs in your possession there? You're going to be playing for a basketball team there. You would imagine that they might have somebody that could find you whatever drugs you need once you got there, no?
Well, Mayo was talking about it, and it's sort of true. Like, I get it. She's done this. This wasn't her first rodeo. She wouldn't have done it if it was her first time there. She's been going back and forth. The women
Yeah.
in the
All
off
right.
season, they make more money than they do on the WNBA, so that's fine. But you do have to take the temperature of what's going on in the world. You have to realize right now Russia is in a thing with really the entire world, and if you're American, they're going to have an eye on you. So you sort of
Yeah.
have to play it safe. Like don't have the vape.
I mean, yeah, you would have to be more concerned that they might throw some drugs in your bag
Exactly.
and take you off the track than, I mean, to bring it in on your own, and risk that is insane. Now, the punishment has already been over the top. A woman's been in a Russian jail for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's crazy. Since
Yeah.
like February, right? What is that? March, April, May, June?
That's like
We're
5
into
months.
July
It's like 5 months.
with no end of it in sight.
Yeah.
And now has pled guilty. And, it's an interesting issue. There's this guy, a Marine, I guess, named Whalen, a former Marine or whatever, that was accused of espionage being there, just picked up arbitrarily. Don't think, that there was any shred of evidence presented that he was a spy. And he was sentenced to 16 years 3 years ago as an American in a Russian prison. And his name, I mean, the people, his family, they have every right to be sort of appalled. And, here's this basketball player getting all this attention where Biden's even mentioning her. And, all of the administration is talking about it. And this poor guy's been locked away for 3.5 years and nobody cares, right?
Yeah.
How weird is that? So that's caused a controversy on that front. And then, the other part of it is Brittany Griner was very open about kneeling for the national anthem, not even coming out while it's being played. A lot of what would seem to be anti-American sentiment, maybe in legitimate protest and with sound logic behind it, possibly. I mean, but whatever. She was not somebody that was saying, man, I love it here in the United States of America, and seemed to be more on the side of, well, you know what, this ain't so great. Now, all of a sudden, people are taking exception with the idea that, she loves the country and this and that. Can't wait for the United States to bail her out after making what would have to be considered one of the dumber mistakes an athlete has ever made. Paying for it. I mean, to the point of, absurdity. Where if she was detained for a day and sent back and said, you can't play basketball here anymore. We don't want you in our country, you drug-infested filth.
Yeah.
You would say, thanks. You'd be doing a Kazatsky all the way to the airport.
Yeah.
But what do you think? I don't know. I mean, my obvious empathy is to get both this Whalen and anybody else that's being detained
get 'em
there
out.
and Brittany Griner out, and then, deal with whatever the problem was at home here, which this would be. I don't know. If you were caught with a hash oil going through an American airport, what do they do? Just take it away from you? Tell you you can't get on the flight while you're being detained?
I don't think it could be that bad these days. I think they would just take it. Like, I don't even know what would happen.
What would happen? Would they even bother making an arrest?
No.
I guess.
They're weird with weed now. Supposedly weed's not that big of a deal. Like the dogs that are sniffing supposedly are bomb dogs. Like they don't even sniff for weed anymore from what I was told.
No, they're more concerned that you're bringing a banana in from Costa Rica.
Exactly.
Imagine getting busted for having a piece of fruit in your bag. All right, Hialeah Park, the Saratoga meet, I believe, starts on Friday. I want to go with that. Friday would be like the first weekend of Saratoga. It used to be just a couple of weeks, then it was like 3, then it was 4, and now they go all the way through August? Is that right? Saratoga meet. It's fantastic though. Everybody loves it. High quality of racing. Just a beautiful setting. I had the pleasure of being there only one time in my life, believe it or not, Lubie, because it was about a 3-hour hack from schlep from where I lived on Long Island. And to drive 3 hours to the racetrack, to lose all of your money, and then drive 3 hours back in the same day wasn't necessarily as appealing to me as just staying home. This predated simulcasting also. So it was pretty hard to sit out the Saratoga meet after, being enthralled with Aqueduct at Belmont. They're living in New York during those years. But only got there one time. Beautiful place. But everybody loves betting on it. What better setting than the Saratoga of the South, Hialeah Park, to go ahead and make your wagers in the Champion simulcasting room. A lot of big stakes. I mean, the weekends are going to be a blast. Everything is just going to be fantastic during that meet. And there's great racing all around the country. Have the Haskell coming up next week. Champion simulcasting room is absolutely the place to go. Man, did I miss it when I was in Atlantic City. Lubie, because the Borgata is nice, but it's the only place in Atlantic City itself, where you can bet on the ponies. And so, you're kind of crammed in there. And you don't feel like you got the kind of elbow room you do, even when it is crowded at Hialeah Park. It's just a beautiful thing, and the accommodations are fantastic. You're going to love it. Casino's great. That's always hopping. That's open till 3 a.m. on the weekdays, 5 a.m. on the weekends. Always special events going on there. Great food and drink all over the place. You can play poker there and have yourself a blast at Hialeah Park. Whatever your favorite Vegas-style game is, they have it at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back. Brett Tester, the agent of the Stars, is going to join us, right at the top of the hour here coming up.
Yes.
So that's going to be great. Football, what? How many weeks away here, Lubie?
The beginning of the Hall of Fame game's August 4th, Thursday, August 4th, the Hall of Fame game.
My favorite game to wager on, the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah,
Who wouldn't want to have a bet in on that? Who's in it? Anybody know? What's the line?
It's like Summer League. I have no idea.
Is the under always a safe bet in the Hall of Fame game? The over-under is like 11
Yeah, that's
in the Hall of Fame game because they know nobody's going to give a flying one, right?
Exactly.
Did they even bother to tackle some young guy that's trying to make the team, impress the coach?
They play. It's just you don't see the starters the entire game. That's the game where the starters don't play. I don't even know if they play a set.
Peyton Manning comes out. He hands the ball off. He doesn't even hand the ball off once. He hands the ball to the referee and says,
"Yeah, that's it.
Have a nice game, Joe." Nice.
Game.
Raiders, Jaguars, Julian says. Our good friend Julian. Raiders, Jaguars.
They must have a line of some kind, but how do you even? I don't know. That's
that one. You have to be. There's a big M that flashes up there. Michigan to be betting the Hall of Fame game. There are probably people out there that are betting the game with conviction. Oh yeah, I told you. I said the Jags all the way.
What do you mean? You had people betting Summer League, and not even that they were betting Summer League, fine, because sometimes people will turn on a game and bet it. You want action. But they're betting Summer League. You said they had analysis. They had, written notes about fucking Summer League.
Yeah,
I don't know how you would do that.
Is Trevor Lawrence going to be any good this year? Now that Urban's out of there?
He'll be better. Yeah, he'll be better.
You think?
Trevor Lawrence? Good. Peterson's a good coach, and they actually had some kind of talent. They just had a lunatic coach.
How insane was Urban Meyer? And then, of course, he gets a TV job right away.
Oh, obviously.
He was sort of vapid as a television analyst, was he not? I mean, it's not like he had a whole lot of personality.
How was he successful as a coach? Like, at least Saban, you sort of will throw a little one-liners in there or whatever. Yeah. Like, Urban Meyer has no personality. Like, he's boring and bland. It's like, who the fuck is going to go play for this guy?
Saban's not funny at all to me. I mean, that phony humor he throws out there. You just you want to mock him completely. Yeah, nice joke there, Nick. Everybody's laughing. We would be guilty of that, though, too. Let's not try to confuse anybody about where we're coming from. Saban cracks a joke while he was on the air with us.
100%.
All right, we're coming back with Brett Tester, the agent of the Stars. We'll zoom in on some NFL football here on the show. It's a Defo show, along with Mike Lubie, South Florida Live. Thank you so much. You say it's growing. I don't know about exponentially, but things are picking up. Mike Mayo has the lunchbox at 12 o'clock. We're going to be adding in some new shows. And you got the Greek. Is he still on fire?
The Greek's 9-1. The Greek's 9-1. And he actually,
there you have it.
That were supposed to be for Friday, and we couldn't connect, but he told Eric played them. So he may be 11-1 on our plays. Like, he's killing it with baseball, and he did a couple of final plays. And he had the USFL championship game right randomly, which even though he hadn't watched 1 minute.
He has good sources. So whoever's giving him this information, Greek, I don't know if he's just looking into a crystal ball there.
Oh my God, what on a hook.
I mean, but he's a man who's lived his life with serendipitous luck on his side. Except maybe, I don't know. Is he over that thing yet? I think he is. He seems, he seems okay. He's back on his feet. All right. Raiders favored by 1 on a hook in the Hall of Fame game. Julian says, and to get that price, you have to lay 112 to win 100. How complicated is this stuff? It's unbelievable, right? Used to be simple, right? Hey, Arnie, I got the Mets, you got the Giants.
Yeah.
Right? A run line and a money line and a this line and a that line. You just had like 20 on the ball game. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on a Defo show. Good to be back with you and peeling ourselves off the mat. Glad you guys are doing much of the same, and we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:04.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
The simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less money, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves in the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tessler.
Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubie Lubitz, and we're getting closer to our home. Yes, we are. NFL football right around the corner. People can stop betting on NBA Summer League and have a real platform to go ahead and risk your money. Joining us right now, and it's always a pleasure because I love a guy who's an adventurer. And here's Brett Tessler. He's renting log cabins. He's climbing the Himalayas. He's doing all kinds of crazy stuff there in Wisconsin. The Himalayas aren't in Wisconsin, but whatever mountain range that was, Brett, you got to the top of it, as you did in the agent and sports business. Brett Tessler, Agent to the Stars. How are you, my friend? Where are you? Is there, telephone service in the remote outposts of Wisconsin? Apparently not. See, he probably, he is. He's out there in the woods somewhere. Brett Tessler, the Agent to the Stars. And so it's no surprise that that signal was dropped. And we hope it goes better when we make the reconnection because, he's been all over the place, this cat. Everybody is in anticipation there. Oh, there you go. You got a busy signal?
Yeah,
Very nice, Lubie.
Let me try and call him again.
All right, we'll try and resurrect this thing from the grave at this point. Hey, who wants to talk NFL football anyway, right? You can hear the cynics out there going, nice job there, Defo. Anyway, I'm not kidding. This guy's had, his social media posts there on Facebook, and I'm looking, where hasn't Brett Tessler, the Agent of the Stars, been? And he's talking about the beauty of the state of Wisconsin, which the only thing I think of, Wisconsin, you think of what? Beer, cheese, and those smarmy-looking Packer fans who, are half frozen and look like they just got off the boat after a session on the Deadliest Catch. It's incredible. And, of course, you hear the voice of Ray Scott echoing in your head. Star, dollar, touchdown. Imagine Gus Johnson doing that call.
Yeah, no way. He would kill himself. He would pass out. He couldn't even try.
All right, what's our status here with this telephone call we're trying to make?
Connecting him right now as we speak.
Okay, very good. Brett Tessler, the Agent to the Stars, right around the corner. Now, it's possible that as we made that introduction to Brett Tessler, the Agent to the Stars, that he was steamrolled by a bear.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess the first question would be, Brett Tessler, are you okay? And where are you, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, no, we're back at the house, and the great thing about this state, there's no shortage of places to go and things to see, and we do enjoy doing outdoors things, so it's cool to be able to take the kids on a kayaking trip or, rent a cabin out in the woods, and, it's just a great time for sure.
You are channeling your inner Paul Bunyan, though, man. I mean, you're really roughing it out there, Brett Tessler. I admire this greatly for a guy that could live, by any means, a very, very luxurious and simple lifestyle. So credit to you, for getting the family together and doing all these adventurous things. All right. I mean, the thing that I've seen most talked about in the NFL, of course, was this Baker Mayfield transaction, where the Browns finally trade him. Now, here was a guy, number 1 overall pick. It seems impossible that a few years later, after showing some signs of life, that he could only garner back a conditional 5th-round pick. I don't even know if it's like a legit, straight-up 5th-round pick. And you have to pay like most of his salary to get rid of the guy. And then he ends up in Carolina, where they had just made a deal for Sam Darnold. So what is your thought on this whole Baker Mayfield situation, and how do you see it playing out?
I'm absolutely shocked how the whole thing worked out in terms of how little Carolina had to give up to get the guy. And while obviously he hasn't become everything that the league was hoping for when he was the number 1 overall pick a few years ago, he has had some bright moments. And obviously, many of his struggles last year had as much to do with health as anything else. So, in my opinion, he's a guy that if I were a team in need of a quarterback, I'd certainly take a flyer on. And I'm just surprised that the Browns got so little in return. But I think that had as much to do with just the way, things have been handled over the last few months in terms of, the contract they gave to Deshaun Watson, obviously alienating themselves from Baker Mayfield, where it became obvious that there was no scenario where he was going to return there this year, with or without, Deshaun Watson being able to play. And so it just became apparent that they had to get rid of him. And, there was a lot of other teams this season that addressed their quarterback needs in different ways. And so I think in the end, they just kind of got painted into a corner. And I think their attitude was just, hey, cut your losses, do what you need to do. You don't want this distraction hanging around as training camp approaches. And so, what ended up happening happened. And hopefully it all works out well for Baker Mayfield. Hopefully it works out well for the Panthers. And hopefully it works out well for the Browns.
Brett, you just said the word, and I was going to ask you about that. Like, we always worry about distractions. This guy's being a distraction. This guy's going to be a distraction. Distractions. Like, when you talk to your players, are those real things? Like, to me, there's so much on the line when it comes to this stuff, especially with football, that, like, who cares about what's going on? But you hear about it enough where I'm curious, like, do your players come to you and go, this guy's being a distraction? Like, is that a real thing that they will deal with in the locker room? And does it actually affect the play on the field?
I don't think it's something where, when players in a 3-point stance right before the snap, he's thinking, gee, I wonder, what's wrong with Baker Mayfield? Right. but
as some 320-pound monster stands across the line from him, ready to smack him in the head. Yeah.
Right. I do believe, though, that, football is probably the biggest chemistry sport there is, in terms of just, it's the largest size roster of any sport. Essentially a football team is twice, the size of a baseball team, 3 or 4 times the size of a basketball team or whatever. So, the more people you have in a building, the more potential there is for schism or, strife or, whatever words you want to use. And that's never a good thing. It's never good for the morale. It's definitely, not good for the chemistry. And in the case of Baker Mayfield, I think it was pretty clear that he was a pretty polarizing figure even within his own locker room. And so ultimately, the fact that he did end up moving on is certainly going to be better for everybody, because it wears on players, and not just from the standpoint of them talking about it amongst themselves. But, you got the media asking you about it every day. These guys are home right now for the next couple of weeks before they have to report to training camp. They just want to be able to relax. And so if you're a player on the Browns, obviously everyone's asking you a million questions about your thoughts on Deshaun Watson. And then you get a million more questions on Baker Mayfield. So it's just one of those things where it's just better for everybody in terms of just, closure and everything else, that this page has been turned and that it's, on to training camp. And now, Obviously, the Deshaun Watson situation, that's somewhat of a distraction of its own. But, that's a distraction where the Browns are hoping it ends up in the long run being worth it because, if ultimately he does wind up getting cleared or if he does have to serve some sort of a suspension, again, for their sake, hopefully shorter as opposed to longer, at some point he does get back on the field for them. And they just made themselves a massive upgrade at the position.
What does this say about Sam Darnold? And are they actually going to have a legitimate quarterback debate there during the preseason, or does Baker Mayfield automatically start, in your opinion?
I think they'll have a competition. I mean, essentially, the Panthers themselves have way more money invested in Sam Darnold because they have to pay him the full 18-19 million, from their pocketbook. Whereas in the case of Mayfield, they got him to cut his salary by a few million, and the Browns had to pick up a very large portion of that. So again, I almost think the Mayfield acquisition for them is brilliant because it kind of helps them hedge their bet. And now when you add what Darnold and Mayfield are getting paid by the Panthers together, that's about what the going rate would be for a good starting quarterback, not even a great one. And so with that, hey, if somehow, some way the light goes on for Sam Darnold at this point, which, hey, personally, I don't think I see it happening. I think it's more likely that you still have more upside in Mayfield and that ultimately, if he's healthy and if he has enough time to, get that whole playbook down and, start to develop that timing and gelling with his new teammates, I think there's legitimate potential that, he could possibly be the long-term quarterback for the Carolina Panthers because he's still young enough. And again, unlike Darnold, Darnold showed a couple, quick flashes of talent, early in his career with the Jets. Mayfield actually has put together, a really good season. Took his team a couple rounds into the playoffs just, 2 seasons ago. So I really do think a change of scenery could be good for that guy. Hopefully he's learned something from his experience in Cleveland, just, as it relates to things beyond just the game of football. And, again, if I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, I'm pretty happy with that pickup. They also drafted the kid. So, you know what? Just sort of throw it all into the pot, stir it up, and see what you get.
Does Home Depot move all of that stuff that Baker Mayfield had in Cleveland to the new stadium for the commercials? I guess they have to hope he starts, or else that there's a loophole in the contract there saying that if he falls on his face, that it's all over. No more selling plywood. Brett Tesser, the agent of the Stars, with us. Okay, so you're back in the Wisconsin home, correct? Getting ready for, these must be. How busy do you get as training camps open? Because I know part of your game and one of the reasons for your great success through your career has been able, you've been able to spot these guys that nobody signed and place them with teams, and you represent them, and they try again. So, how busy does it get for you before the training camps actually open up?
Defo, I don't really get busy at all at this point. Everybody is pretty much squared away. Everybody who I have is on teams, and they have already spent, the last month and a half or so, a couple months with their team in the off-season program doing OTAs, that kind of stuff. So right now, everybody's just trying to stay sharp and stay in shape. And, other than that, as far as I'm concerned, just looking forward to having some company up here. We got some friends coming to visit. Today, my mom's flying up. It's her birthday, so happy birthday to her.
Oh, nice.
And of course, happy birthday. Yeah, and of course, happy birthday to you, my friend. Hope you had a great one last week. And
very nice.
Life is good for me and my clients. And right now, you just hope that everybody comes in there and steps in there with their right foot first, and competes and has success.
How difficult is it for a guy to get noticed if he is an unsigned free agent? I mean, you see, on Hard Knocks, all of these intense meetings that, the coaches are having, and they supposedly go over every detail on every guy. What does the guy have to do? I mean, to get himself noticed? Or can he really just go out there and, play hard-nosed football, and hopefully that speaks for itself.
With me as their agent, it's very easy to get noticed. With some other agent, it's almost impossible.
Wow.
Just kidding. But
Yeah.
no, I do what I can.
Yeah, no, Rosenhaus's guys are getting
what I
stiffed. I
can.
mean, cut right away. Yeah,
Rosenhouse's guys.
he doesn't deal in that category. Yeah,
Yeah, so
Yeah, what are you talking about?
the truth is, the truth is he does what he does very, very well. And I've always tried to do what I do as well as I can for my clients and for my family and myself. And so the truth is, these teams do a very, very thorough job these days, Deep, with scouting. And so for that reason, teams know who all these guys are. I mean, they know who the third string long snapper from Southwest Missouri State is. It's just a matter of if that guy is, if that team has any interest in him, and if they have a need, and if he's the right fit there. And as an agent, it's sort of like trying to put together a puzzle. So, I typically don't recruit a guy unless I've already spoken to teams and spoken to scouts and people whose opinion I respect to know that, hey, there's something there with this guy. And so at that point, you hope as you go through the process that he does well at his pro day if he's not invited to the combine, and you hope he performs well for the week of his all-star game if he gets invited to one. And then ultimately, as you approach the draft, you look at what every team's roster is, you see what they have, you figure out what they need, you see who they draft. And then when the dust settles after that, you try to, if you have multiple options, if there's multiple teams interested in a guy, and this is something that I usually know ahead of time before the draft even happens, what teams are going to be interested, then you very quickly look at those depth charts and you're able to, really see what looks like the best opportunity for him. And then you go ahead and, work out the best deal. Like, for example, my guy, Zach McLeod from University of Miami this year, got the highest guarantee in NFL history of any undrafted free agent with the Vikings.
Nice.
More than, any player drafted in the 7th, more than any player drafted in the 6th, and almost every player drafted in the 5th. And so, aside from, that deal, there was one other quarterback this year that got a few dollars more, but, he's the highest non-quarterback ever. And so essentially, they paid him like almost a mid to late round draft pick, which means that, along with the guys drafted in the mid to late rounds, his chances should be very, very good. So at that point, I feel pretty good about the job I did. And I feel great about this guy and his ability. And, he could just be another example of so many great players throughout history. Obviously, you always mention I represent Raheem Mostert, but then you look at guys, throughout the years, the Randall McDaniels, James Harrison. Obviously, everyone knows Kurt Warner. The list goes on and on. Priest Holmes, MVP. Lots of great undrafted players who've made it. So, hopefully that could be the case for Zach McLeod and, maybe some of the other guys I have too.
Sounds good, my friend. You're living a dream. All right, good luck. Don't do too much of this Daredevil stuff, though. All right, Brett? Because we want you around for the football season. I don't know, hiking shoes. You got everything working there. You're in canyons, rowing kayaks. Unbelievable. Fantastic. All right. Yes.
Yeah, Lubie hit the nail on the head, though, because, I've had Michael Wild handle all of my...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank God they're in order.
Yeah, I know that if I flip over in a kayak, in the canyons of Wisconsin Dells, I know that if I fall off, rocks climbing Devil's Lake, I know that my family's going to be taken care of. And so should anybody out there listening, if you need to get your estate plans in order, reach out to Michael Wild, SouthFloridaWills.com. And again, won't be any Daredevil stuff this week. Mom's coming in town, so looking forward to just a nice, relaxing week with the family, and can't wait to see her.
I thought you and Mom might go skydiving or something. I mean, the way you've been rolling, that's fantastic. All right, Brett, have fun, man. We'll talk to you again next week, my friend.
All right, guys, take care.
Bye.
All right. He's been doing a lot of wild stuff, crazy stuff.
He's all over the place, this guy.
Unbelievable, Louie. Yeah.
You can do it from Ohio. What the hell?
You wonder. I mean, that was an interesting thing, right? Brett's often said that on the show that in many ways you're better off being an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, it's funny.
If your name falls, I would imagine, certainly 7th round could be more advantageous because now all of a sudden you have teams sort of redrafting, and that he was able to get who's the kid that he represents again?
Zach McLeod.
What would you think? Should this guy have been drafted somewhere?
Well, that's my thing is like, I would assume you'd want to be drafted, but he said this before. Once it gets past the 5th round, he's like 6th and 7th round. I'd rather my guys not be drafted because then they can just go and work out with
Pick a
teams
spot.
on their own that have room for them. They get to pick. Like when you're drafted, you just go anywhere and they could be loaded at your spot. And even if you show out, you have no shot. Like he'd rather them after the 5th round.
The teams automatically keep. I mean, you've seen draft picks, I guess, get cut in the preseason, but they keep them all the way through 7 rounds just so they don't embarrass their front office.
No way.
At least have them on a roster on opening day. No, because the coach is thinking this guy you drafted sucks, Tannenbaum.
Exactly.
Every time I see Mike Tannenbaum come up and make commentary, they couldn't have had enough commentary about this whole Baker Mayfield thing, which I think it's interesting. You would assume that Baker Mayfield was acquired by the Carolina Panthers, so he would start, no?
Yep.
And that the towel was already in on Sam Darnold, who, as Brett pointed out, they have a pretty substantial investment in Sam Darnold.
Yep.
Who, I mean, it's hard to judge a guy that played for the Jets, though, is it not? Is it fair to judge somebody? No, I'm serious about this.
I know you are. I know you are, and that's why I laugh, because it's true.
And, for Jet fans out there, no disrespect, isn't Eric's a big Jet fan, is he not?
Yes, huge Jet fan. Eric the Jet fan. That was his nickname.
Big Jet fan, right? Yeah, isn't it Marlins and Jets? An odd combination. Marlins and Jets. You would think it would be Mets and Jets, although are the Mets hearing some footsteps?
Oh, 100%. Well, what's going on with DeGrom? Now, all I keep hearing is that he's opting out. I'm like, when is he pitching? Like, what's going on?
He's been in a couple of rehab starts. He's torching these minor leaguers. He's throwing the ball up there at like $103 and striking out everybody. I'm not sure how soon that means that he's going to be coming back. I guess he's thrown he threw 3 innings or something for like the what are the crazy names in the minor leagues, especially in the southeastern teams.
Oh, the teams, yeah.
Yeah.
The Mud
Jailbaiters. I mean, they're like the Mud Cats. Yeah. The Black Hens. Whoever they are, man. They sound like street gangs. Unbelievable. But, he's supposedly looked very sharp. And you saw Scherzer come back and shut out, who was it he pitched against? Scherzer was pitching against St. Louis. Was that it? When the Mets were in the previous series to the Marlins. Anyway, the Marlins and the myth of the Sisyphus. I want to get into that. And also, we have to pay homage to the late, great Hank Goldberg, who was always a guy that was kind of an advocate of mine.
Yep.
And, tried his best to help me at every turn, even though he seemed to be, you talk about irascible.
Yes.
That was Hank. He could fly off the handle at anything, right? You could say something to him like, hey, you know what? I thought Mike Mayo wrote a great column today. And he would go, what? Mayo? Are you kidding me? That man couldn't write his way out of a paper bag. I don't know. I got a 3rd grade English. And you're saying, wow, I mean, how could you possibly, take that much exception with it? But he literally would be seeing red at certain times. And, if you really wanted to get to Hank, all you had to do was say, you know what, that story that Levitard broke.
Yeah.
And that was it. My God. It was like Niagara Falls, only he turned. So a lot of people knew that, Hank, and I did too, which it was always interesting to me that a man of that stature, I guess, part of the reason he got there is because he prided himself on, being the sort of be-all and end-all of all sports information here in South Florida. What are you talking to? I had Shul on my show this morning, and he said you're full of shit, Defo. I was never really into story,
No, you don't care about that. Yeah, you don't care about that.
If something happens, I told you, I had 2 stories that we broke here of significance. And, it was by accident, total bizarre luck that I fell into it, right? Because we knew that the Dolphins were going to draft Ronnie Brown. And, of course, I got the first tip on the Marlins having been sold to John Henry from Wayne himself. just happened to walk up to me. I was at a charity cocktail event after a golf tournament or something. Wayne comes up to me for some reason. I don't even know he knew me, right? And he says, I want you to meet John Henry. He just bought the team. Right? I call the radio station, and Boog Shambi was on the air. And Boog thought naturally that I was
lying. Yeah.
making this up. That I was just trying to pull a prank on him to make him look stupid on the air. Sure enough, that was it.
All right.
But Hank was obsessed with this whole thing, right? I mean,
Tommy was talking about it.
I broke that story. I broke that story. And I thought it kind of made him look foolish, because a man of that stature didn't need to be this desperate to be given credit for things. So that was a Hank that a lot of people knew. But the other side of it was when I first moved to town, and this was like 1981, I want to say. 81 now I'm going with instead of 82. And July of 81. It had to be, right? Because my son was born in February. I didn't even meet the woman yet.
Yeah.
My first wife and Jesse's mother. And so, yeah, it had to be like 81. And it was, it was very early on. I had just gotten a job here at 940 doing afternoon sports updates. And Hank liked my style, and he always tried to help me. Always trying to help me, and was always very generous. And as I mentioned, when there was that little jackpot over certain indiscretions that might have been taken with an Indian gaming outfit, he was, he calls me out of the blue. I hadn't even really talked to him that much in, those last couple of years there. Not before he died, but I changed radio stations. And it's in a different path, and he was, first guy, and this rarely happens with a guy when you're in a jackpot, where a guy kind of out of the blue offers you money.
Oh, wow.
It says, because what are you going to need when you're in some kind of trouble? Money. That helps get you out of it. There's no other way to look at it. If you don't have the capital, man, believe me, you're going down.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, very true. The criminal justice system, in many ways, especially at the federal level, is largely about capital. And that's it. And the fraudulent way in which you earn. No. It was a legitimate thing, man. I mean, it was, I don't want to state my case here on the air, but let's face it, Brittany Griner is getting the same kind of treatment here over a little bit of hashish oil. It's just unbelievable. All right, we're coming back with more. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Man, would that be a good thing for the summertime, Lubie? Summertime.
So a buddy of mine was in the Keys. I'm like, you need to go down to the Chill. It's perfect time for it.
The living is easy, man. I've been thinking about a frozen drink lately. I don't know why. I'm not really much of a frozen drink. I used to be. At one time, I really enjoyed frozen rum runners and frozen daiquiris. Were you ever into that craze here in South Florida?
Yeah, I'm like the Caribbean for sure. If it's summer, if it's a cruise.
Yeah, it's so fucking hot. I mean, that's the only way to put it. So, I mean, are you weak for having like a frozen drink or asking or inquiring about one? Sometimes they're very refreshing. At the Even Keel Fish Shack, right? I always like that frozen margarita they have there. Man, that's great. Now, if you're getting a margarita, do you get it on the rocks or do you get it frozen?
I usually get it on the rocks, but like if I'm at Even Keel, I like their frozen drinks. They have like a frozen mango thing that's like passion fruit thing. That's great.
Anyway, man, I mean, what better thing than to chill out at the Big Chill, mile marker 104, Key Largo. Jimmy Johnson's, great food. I mean, I'm talking about just absolutely tremendous and original, innovative stuff, too. So, it's not like they're reinventing the wheel. I mean, you want some fried fish and fries, they have that. You want it done, pistachio encrusted, they could do that, too. I mean, and this stuff is right out. I mean, literally jumping onto the dock there. Jimmy goes down there and sees a fisherman. He says, hey, I'll take all of those mahi-mahi you out. Give me those dolphin right there. He coached the Dolphins, and he knows his way around the Dolphins, right? The freshest of fish, all kinds of great stuff. We talk about the pizzas there. They are fantastic. Dominic Kajemi does a tremendous job. Accommodations are exquisite. I mean, absolutely great. You need to look into that at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. And this will be the nicest place that you ever stayed in the Keys. I don't care what part of the Keys you go to. Accommodations were as amazing as any place I've ever seen. I mean, it was really, we had a great room in Atlantic City, but wow. That thing at Jimmy Johnson's overlooking the bay, fantastic. Now it's limited, so check it out on the website at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. Great place to go. Looking forward to being down there again very soon. Working on it. Tommy Fox, I think, is still working on that deal, Lubie. Nice. So might be happening sooner than later. I know you need it to happen sooner.
God, please.
Might be too late later. No, it's never too late to go down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104. in Key Largo. All right, we're coming back with more and much more to talk about. I want to pay a little tribute to Hank, though, because
Yeah, we did a lot. It's just interesting that like people who knew him only on air had one sentiment about him, and then the people that knew him off air had a whole different opinion. It was just very interesting, the dichotomy.
I never knew why he had to, sort of have like that insufferable style when a complete intolerance for anybody else's thoughts or ideas. And unfortunately, as you get older, see, now I was blanking on two names last night. I was trying to think of two names, right? Because I was watching when I bet that Met game where the Marlins lost to the Mets 10-0, and I bet the Marlins. What was that? That was like Wednesday night, I think. Yeah, they had Castano on the mound. They got hammered. I mean, and you could see it coming right from the very start. You could see the way this was unfolding. The atmosphere was ripe for me to go down on this particular wager.
It was Thursday. It was Thursday night. Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely insane. So anyway, I'm looking in the bullpen there, and I see this big fat guy hanging out in the bullpen, and I'm thinking is he the pitching coach now for the Mets? And I'm blanking on the name, and I can't come up with anything close. And then this is happening to me now, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's time to start gargling with Prevagen or jellyfish or whatever. But whereas I finally throw in the towel, because, you're trying to hang on to your memory and say that it's not completely shot, that, you're not seeing stars like you were Vito Antifermo after the Hagler fight. All right, and that it's going to lead to a certain level of dementia, including turning down a beer distributorship because you didn't want to deliver beer, right? They were going to give you the distributorship. Been filthy rich the rest of your life. Vito, what are you thinking? But so I'm blanking it, and now in a towel, that's when it comes to me. Do you find that?
Always, yeah. When it's on the tip of your tongue,
out of left field.
Comes, yep.
Like you've lost consciousness for a split second, and then it comes back to you, and then it's Bartolo Colon was the guy I was trying to think of.
Oh, Jesus. You couldn't think of Bartolo Colon? Oh, God.
Big fat guy, had a secret family. I mean, of all the people, right? You're thinking, wow, maybe Mike Trout's got a secret family, but Bartolo Colon? All right, so is he now a pitching coach with the Mets? Because, I mean, this guy's body...
That'd be funny.
If it wasn't Bartolo Colon, he might not have been tall enough. I mean, to have been Bartolo Colon. It was a very entertaining ball player, by the way. One of those guys. I mean, you always root for the fat guy. Is that not true? Sports fans out there
100%.
Always root for the fat guy. So I don't know if is he affiliated in any way? He doesn't need the money? Why would he be like a pitching coach for the Mets? I mean, he made millions and millions of dollars.
So the
His
Mets
second family, say.
Says the Mets pitching coach is Jeremy Hefner. So let me look up. What
no, this was just this was just some fat guy that was an attendant in the bullpen. That was it. Okay, it wasn't Bartolo Colon. I couldn't think of Carl Ravitch, the announcer for ESPN. Was he doing a Sunday night game last night?
I think he does. Yeah, they retooled that.
I mean, a guy that seems like a real good guy and has nice style, but this 4-seamer, 2-seamer debate, you have to be kidding me, Lubie. It's still ringing in my ears, to listen to this. And I was just thinking the other day, as I said earlier in the program, I mean, do you really know the difference, Lubie, between a 4-seam fastball and a 2-seam fastball? That it should be an hour-long topic of discussion on virtually every ball game.
No idea.
What difference does it make, right? When you were taping electrical tape around a ball that had been ground down to just the cork and some string, did it matter if it was a 2-seamer or a 4-seamer? No, you were just hoping it didn't hit you in the head. Even a kneecap was brutal with those balls, man. They would weigh like 8 pounds. It was like throwing a shot put up there. All right, we're coming back with more here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz. Peel yourself off to Matt Monday. Always great to be with you. Check out Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, Key Largo. We couldn't recommend it any more authoritatively in terms of just our compassion for what they do there and the great job that they do in creating a perfect atmosphere for relaxation in the Keys. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Who is Carrio's talking to, by the way? Do we know? It's 8:38. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Of course, I got in about 2 a.m. last night. Do I look like Lubie? Good morning, by the way.
You look
Do I
good.
look like I need a cut, man?
You look good. I'm proud of you. You're like ready. You're on time. All the guys there didn't have to stress out waiting for you. Look at you. A new day.
I'm a professional. There's no question about it. And I don't like to lose a job on the first day of the job.
That'd be good.
Which is ugly. Because we already lost one job, and we got fired by Fox. And in fact, you and I, Lubie, are the only starters that were ever beaten out for a job by Brady Quinn. If you can kind of wrap your arms around that concept.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
That remains a disgrace.
It's true.
Yeah. Should we revel in the fact that the radio station since has just been rock bottom, and that their other station is bottoming out as well? WYOD, they're one of the fabled stations in South Florida. Should we revel in that fact that they are failing without us?
I
No?
What
What
don't.
difference
I
does it
think
make?
it's
See?
sad.
Yeah.
I think it's sad that the industry didn't get it. Like you've been
Yeah.
talking about it for years with people. I talked about it with people. I think it's sad that people are reactionary instead of proactive, and that it was going to be the death of it, and that's sort of what you're seeing.
People still have radio shows, though, and so
It's
the
fine.
industry does persist.
It's there.
Now, that was the thing about Hank. I mean, was Hank the definitive South Florida sports
Yes.
radio talk show host? I mean, would you have to say certainly the most well-known of all time?
Yep.
And that was also enhanced by the fact that he eventually got this gig with ESPN and was very well respected for his ESPN work, even though in town there were many people
Time.
that were detractors of Hank because I don't even know. It wasn't really a bullying style he had. It almost seemed like, I mean, it was like being a kid that grew up in New York. I mean, we were expert at rank out fights, man. If you wanted to put somebody down, you could make them feel like mouse shit in 2 seconds. No, seriously. Almost any guy from Brooklyn has this quality. If Mayo was to tee off on you or me, it would be over, right? I mean, it would have a zillion things that just made you think, my God, why am I even alive? Right? You're talking about trash talking earlier in the show and this whole Kyrgios thing. Right. So, but Hank, I don't know why, he wasn't really that strong at insulting people, even though that was his game. In my opinion, this is just my opinion critique of his work. And then, the whole obsession that you had to be right about everything. I mean, nobody's right about everything. All right. We're going to give you our predictions on the upcoming, now called the Open, formerly known as the British Open. And, that was one of his things. I mean, he did have some great campaigns that is kind of a staple of this business. If you can have something that you're just known for. And one of the things he was known for, remember, Lubie, was he always called the stadium formerly known as Joe Robbie, because he was a big Joe Robbie guy. As, many people look back and say, as insane as that was, I mean, was that not the right way to go? where you're not fleecing some municipality for a
Yep.
zillion dollars. You're actually risking your own wherewithal to be in a business that is so lucrative that now, what are the Miami Dolphins worth? Even though it seemed appalling
Yeah.
that when Wayne sold the team after he bought it for like 100-something million. I mean, it was like nothing, a song and a dance. How many years ago was that, though, Lubie? I mean, am I talking so far in the distant past that these numbers no longer have any relevance? $100 million. I'm pretty sure it was like 125 million or something.
That's
Was that the original purchase there? Joe Robbie sells the Dolphins and the stadium to Wayne Huizenga. This is a stadium where you own everything, although you can get this same deal if you're dealing with Miami politicians. You talk about graft and under-the-table payments. My God, how do you get a deal like that? Like they got with the Marlins, especially two guys that were despised, right? Laurie and Sampson, two of the most despised figures in South Florida sports history. And they got the stadium out of the city of Miami where they owned everything, right? Parking? No, that's ours. Concessions? No, that's ours. I mean, taxes? Nope, that's yours. It was crazy, the deal that they got there. Just absolutely incredible. But, I like that because, I mean, he was consistently known, that was something just like we play Johnny Addy with the time.
Yeah.
Where if you,
that
have a
was for
signature thing.
$138 million. $138 million. Didn't it sell it for 1.5?
I think it was like in the low, it sounds stupid to call this a low number, but it was like 1 point, not 5, maybe like 1.4 billion. Was it something like that? I don't know. It might have been 1.04 billion or something on that range. But nonetheless, I mean, a handsome profit, 10 times your money on 100 million. Imagine that. That's a good investment. No, you get all your money back and you get 10 times that on 100 million. Not like you put up $1,000 and got 10 back. That's a pretty good score. But what is it? What are they worth now? It's insane. I mean, if the Broncos could sell for how many $billion? Like $4.5 billion.
Four.
My God, then what are the Dolphins worth here in South Florida? Has to be a fortune. Just absolutely incredible. But I mean, Hank was right, in that regard, and he was known for that. And yet, the whole time, I mean, that he was insulting people and people hated him and all this stuff, and he almost seemed like the poor man's Neil at sometimes on the air, didn't he? Like cracking on people and this and that, but it wasn't quite the same. And I always thought, wow, you just, I mean, we were working with great guys then too. Because the sports staff had I had that picture up on Facebook, 6 guys on the sports staff then. It was Rick Weaver, Mad Dog Mandich, who was sort of a side guy at that time, Joe Zagacki, Sonny Hirsch, Hank Goldberg, and me.
Yep.
6 guys. I mean, that's on one staff at a radio station. Think about how, I mean, that was a sports department at one radio station in town. Now, there were no other stations doing sports at the time, and then later on, the all-sports format finally came to South Florida with WQAM, and it was very suspect whether that was going to work, and it worked out pretty well in the long run. And, they took that whole staff. This guy, Greg Reed, took Hank and Neil and everybody else that was on, Mandich, me, from WIOD, and moved them over to QAM, which... that was kind of the heyday of the whole thing, those 2 radio stations. But that was what, 30 years ago, Lubie?
Yeah, 90s.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Hank, he really took exception with just about everything that was written in the newspaper. And I saw something, somebody sent me something about how, what was it, Mike Mayo that sent me this, that Levitard was, had like a bunch of, not necessarily, flattering things to say about Hank after he passed.
Professor talked. I didn't hear what they said, but they supposedly spent a lot of time being sort of negative after his passing.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's dead. Come on. Whatever beef you had with him, let it slide now. But always was very good to me. When I first came to town, he, tried to help me get a job at Channel 4, where he was working part of the time there, and that was with Tony Segreto, which I guess it was the NBC affiliate then, because that was like the Fritz Peterson, Mike Kekich wife swap, wasn't it? When they swapped television signals, when Channel 2 became Channel 6 or whatever, Channel 4, whatever. CBS 4 was 6, and they like changed, right?
Yeah,
or was there a player to be named later in that deal? Was like Hector Lopez included in that? What kind of transaction is that? I think I watched Tony on Channel 4, didn't you? Tony Segreto when he was on NBC. Now that
Yes.
was. How did that happen, Lubie?
It was like 20
That
years
had to
ago.
be advantageous for somebody. Some agent made a lot of money on
Yeah,
that
exactly.
transaction there, while the lawyers were just cleaning up with their hourly bills. Incredible. But anyway, so he tried to help me out there, and Hank was directly responsible for me getting what turned out to be like a very favorable break for me here in my South Florida broadcasting career when he was going to be doing a broadcast from the Breeders' Cup at Gulfstream Park, and this had to be circa maybe 1988, somewhere in there. Don't remember the exact year. I want to say 88, Breeders' Cup, Gulfstream Park. And he was going to do a live broadcast on WIOD from the Breeders' Cup. And they were telling him that, they were going to give him one of the news guys to work with him. And Hank, as he was known to do, like absolutely flipped out and said, "I can't work with this guy. What does he know about horse racing? Nothing. Right. So that got the attention of the program director. And, he naturally wanted to have a much happier Hank on the set there for 4 hours. And so he said, well, what would you like to do? He said, I want to bring in like a freelance guy that knows the game, that's on the radio and has been. Now he's doing TV. Let me bring in this DeForest kid. And that's kind of how I got started there with WIOD. Because Hank had to leave for a while to shoot some piece for TV. So that left me hosting the entire show, even though I'd, never been on the station before. And and the program director was a guy named Gary Bruce. And he was actually engineering the board there while we were out on this remote, which, as you know, with the equipment was much more complicated back then.
Oh my God!
With Comrexes and lines and this and that, and monitor and everything. So Bruce was impressed with what I did, and then eventually got me in there, and that's how I got my start there on WIOD. The rest is history, right? Not bad. Because I had been out of radio for a while and just doing TV, and then all of a sudden I found myself in a very ugly predicament where the money just wasn't coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a very fortuitous break, and it was all brought about by Hank Goldberg, permanently indebted to the man. And, he had obviously a great career. And I believe, it's funny because people have, certain biases either way with Hank. They either loved him or hated him from his radio performances. And, maybe that was part of why the whole thing worked, right? Because you would call in, and if you thought the guy was like a ridiculous buffoon, just spewing off all kinds of, crazy nonsense as a know-it-all, much like Mike Francesa was perceived to be in New York. I mean, and maybe, I don't know, was Hank modeling some of his game? Francesa wasn't around before Hank. Hank preceded.
They're probably, yeah, I would say they're.
But they were similar in the way people reacted to him, right?
Yeah.
And the way they conducted their business, where, Francesa would hear a guy who would call in and say, hey, I think this guy Jeter's going to be a hell of a shortstop. And he would hang up on him and go, what? Jeter? He sucks. Yeah. That was a mistake of a draft pick. Yep. And then years later, well, you know what? I told you Jeter from the start. It was going to be a great guy. I used to dig the Hank interviews when he would have a guy on that he had been particularly, adverse to, and been, like Bud Selig. That was one of my favorite ones. Where, he had been like cursing this man, having to use a dump button on himself for years. And then he gets an interview with Selig and he's like, oh, Bud, yeah, you're doing a great job. But that was all part of the charm of the thing for me. And think about some of the other guys that were working at the radio station, the great Phil Hendry. It was fantastic. I mean, and Phil, we all had our thoughts about the way that everybody else's show was going, and Hanks was particularly funny in that regard when, he would all of a sudden have nothing but affection for a guy that he had been cursing out for years and years and years on the air. Hey, Danny Ainge, how are you, Danny? Good to talk to you, man. Always good talking hoops with you, buddy. Not that we aren't guilty of that ourselves, right?
Yeah. We try to make a joke of it at least. We'll make fun of it.
We never said anything about Windhorst being fat when he was on. No, you're not going to do that. I mean, come on.
You're not being an asshole. This is funny.
We have people on the show to have a good time with them. That's really the whole thing,
No, we make fun of it. Look, again, we made fun of Mick Hubert. Now, Mick Hubert's sense of humor wasn't great, so we weren't able to do it with him, but we did it.
Yeah.
Like we would do it all the time. Like if we talk crap about you, we tell you.
Yes.
We're honest.
It wasn't always a beneficial
That's what
position to
it
take.
is, yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah. But Hank, you know what? He did a lot of work, man. And he was very proud of that. That was my last conversation with him, I would say, was when I was in Vegas for my birthday. I wanted to see if I could get together with Hank. And I knew he had been in poor health, but he sounded fine at the time. He was in an assisted living place. And one of the first things he says to me is, "Hey, Defo, how are you? I'm still working, you know." And, he checked out, unfortunately, at 82 on his birthday, July 4th. So I wanted to say, very influential guy, though, in South Florida broadcasting. There's no doubt, whether you liked him or didn't, and liked the style, or you bought it, or you thought he was the most knowledgeable guy, or you thought that he didn't know what he was talking about, that he was talking out of his ass. Probably the most influential sports guy that we've had here. Is that a fair statement? I mean, maybe, Levitard is getting there, and has much more wide world appeal at this point and a bigger platform. But, that's all, in conjunction with the times. But for where he was at, and on ESPN, he supposedly, he only had like one losing season or something. It's like a Shula type of thing. In the years that he was on ESPN. Is that true, Lubie?
It always seemed like wrong when I watched, so that's why I was like, why didn't you
he was always going 0-5, wasn't he, every time?
It was always wrong when I would watch, and it's fine because he had the whole shtick, and he carried the banner for gambling before they accepted gambling.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a big thing with Hank, was that he made people talk about gambling even though they were scared to talk about gambling.
Yeah. Well, and he was always into it, for sure. And obviously, he read a lot, and had been around a lot of different things. Good storyteller, with and an adventurer. I mean, when it came to his own personal behavior, I have nothing but the most wild respect for Hank Goldberg and what he accomplished in his career. Even though some of the stuff that he did on the air, for my principles of broadcasting, weren't necessarily kosher with what I would consider always being in good taste. I don't know. Not that we're in compliance with that, any form of on-air etiquette. But no, great, very influential guy, and very, very good to me. I really had nothing but the utmost of respect for Hank Goldberg, and But while that's being said, I used to get a kick when he would go like, and Eddie K loved Hank also, Eddie Kaplan. And he would, go 0-5, and we would deliberately turn on his show the next. I mean, that was the best time to tune in, wasn't it? If he had just gone like 0-5 on ESPN with his selections, and then he would tell you, well, yeah, I went 0-5, but I didn't bet those games, and I slaughtered my bookie to the tune of 3-0, and that was Hank, man, and that. Guess was part of his legend and part of his charm. All right. Wow, we had a good time being with you. This thing flew by. Lubie coming back was not bad. I mean, how did he do on the comeback trail here? It's a little scatterbrained.
You're on it.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Jazz Chisholm is an all-star starter, Lubie. 256 batting average. Was that justifiable? Obviously, a popular name. He had been hitting a lot of home runs. I don't know if he's tailed off recently. I haven't followed the Marlins as closely as I should, although that was the most atrocious loss, I think. That's hard to say. In Marlins history, that loss on Saturday night, did you see what happened there?
No.
They take the lead in the 10th inning. They play a real nice ball game all the way through. They're going to go up 2-1 in the series over the Mets, and have Alcantara on the mound. Maybe to have a 3-1 series on the road against the top team in the National League East. And then on top of that, they're closing in on 500. And so they get to the 10th inning, up 5-4. They get the run in the top of the 10th. They convert there. They get a guy picked off second by the catcher, John Birdie, who's a pretty good base runner, right? So here's what happens. He gets Birdie gets a double and or whatever, gets a hit, knocks in a run, and so then I have the lead, and the catcher throws down to second base, and Birdie's on the bag. And the guy keeps applying the tag, and then all of a sudden he goes off the bag, and they call him out.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
They kind of like shoved him off the bag, though. I don't know. They let that play stand. If I'm Mattingly, I come out there like Johnny Roseboro with a baseball bat in my hand, saying, hey, you do that again, Marichal, and it's over, man. I'm going to take your head off. Anyway, so then in the bottom of the inning, it looks like they're going to get out of it and win the game 5-4. And instead, you had Anderson down at third base. He misses a ground ball, lets it go to the outfield. That lets the game, get tied up. And then the pitcher makes a throwing error when he looks like he's going to get out of the inning and take him to the 11th. And they lose the ball game 5-4 on a couple of real Little League plays. I mean, just ugliness, my friend. And that's the myth of the Sisyphus with this team, is it not? As soon as they get anywhere near 500, somebody pushes that rock right back downhill. And it's rolling and gathering moss like a rolling stone, my friend. Unbelievable. And you're going to start over from scratch, as we've done many times, Lubie. No, this is like take 3 on scratch.
Yeah.
We made it work before, so have faith, my friend. And we have faith in you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all the comments there from our fans. Patrick Fox weighing in here. Of course, Eric, the Jet fan. And with Jay also weighing in.
Yeah, we have
I'm glad he said Hank was the best of the best, which most influential guy down here, no doubt, right?
Yeah, he started the whole thing. I mean, whether you like him or not, look, I told you the one time we interacted with him on the phone was when we were slamming Jay Fiedler during Passover, and he called us anti-Semitic. We're Jewish, so like we just laughed about it. I thought it was classic. But all I've heard is like literally everyone who knew him, including you, had great things to say about him, like off the air. Like it was shtick. Like he was a dude. He was supposedly had the biggest heart of anyone. If you ever needed him and you reached out to him, he was there. He kept.
What you got by the sort of exterior persona that he projected? That's where you had to go, and you would find like a real sweetheart of a guy, like a most generous guy that you would ever met.
You would always I had never even really knew him, so I was like, wow, that's really freaking cool. Like that. Throughout the years, he
very good to me. Very, very good. I have to say, I love the guy. Because geez, I mean, always was there to try to help me out. Yeah. Whether it was with my career or whatever circumstance, and was a huge fan of the show, by the way, Lubie.
You said
with you on it. He was a huge fan of the show. He really loved our radio show. Yeah.
Yeah. And Segredo would say that too. So I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. I'm like, good for him. I'm like, this Hank. So that's why I was like, I guess it's like sort of a shtick kind of a thing, because every person, Caden Bradar was on with Mayo for like an hour last week talking about how great Hank was. So I was like, all right, like I guess.
Well, and an advocate of degeneracy. I mean, he was carrying the flag when it wasn't popular, right? When you had to worry that you were taking a position that was going to be so adverse to the taste of the people in management that they would just as soon drop you. Now, fortunately for the people at WIOD, Neil was a huge gambling advocate also, because he loved to bet the jugheads, and was often seen with Big Fat Rich or whatever. It was Fat Rich at Big Rich is my guy. Fat Rich at Pompano Park. And, it was legitimate, right? I mean, when a guy tells you he's a big gambler, and sometimes, you're wondering, is Anita Marks really sending it in on ESPN? Not to, pick on Anita Marks. She's a fine person, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you had a drink with her there at the Super Bowl, and then
nice.
She blew you off when Troy Aikman walked in.
Pretty much. But like we always wonder these gambling experts, because it's like you're not doing it. But for the South Florida greats, they were like Hank and Neil.
That Brandon Lang is living and dying with these bets.
Oh yeah. The professor
is sending in his own money. The professor is sending it in. All right, we got to run. It's been a lot of fun being with you. We'll do it again tomorrow, and should have a lot of fun. What's that?
I said, welcome back and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a good time. And Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock. We'll be back on that also. And had a weird dining experience there at this Gordon Ramsay Steakhouse, which if I was paying, you could have slammed it. But since it was a casino freebie, I left the girl a $100 tip and said, hey, it worked out fine. And that was it. But wow, the prices there. I mean, if anybody was actually paying, whoo, Gordo.
Exactly.
Somebody should be screaming at this guy, some financial consultant, say, hey, how can you just blatantly rob people like this? All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 a.m. On the Defo Show. Thanks for tuning in. Spread the word about South Florida Live. We'll be doing a good job with that. And, people are asking about us, about it all the time. And I'm sending them that link. Is that the way to do it?
Yes,
Send
please.
them that link. Okay.
Good man. I'm proud of you. Just keep doing
posting that up. Yeah. So we'll see you tomorrow at 7, all of you out there. And, and leave you now that
the time.
It's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they've done to my soul.